God is not invisible. You are just refusing to see God. You're refusing to see it. You're refusing to see Him, whatever you want to call Him, right? Which God has no gender. God is essentially nothing, no thing. And the simplest way to put that is if you will qualify yourself as something, if you would qualify anything that you are experiencing as something means the sum of a thing, means it came from something. Well, which really means that it came from nothing. It came from everything because it is not the whole thing if it is something. So when we say that God is no thing, God is everything and nothing at the same time. And what we got to understand is when we talk about extremes on any form of the polarity, right? God is in the middle of everything, which means God is no thing. God is not happy. God is not sad. God is not love. God is not hate. God is not material. God is not, immaterial. God is the center of everything of which you are experiencing is birthed from. So the fact that you're here is because God created you. I don't understand how people can be atheists or agnostic in a sense where they feel like there's no evidence of God when you are here. Like the fact that you have a consciousness, you are watching this video, you have a life, you experiencing something, right? You know you are experiencing something. That is literal proof of God. Now, your idea of what God is just may be wrong, and that's why we are perceiving God to be maybe this man in the sky or this more localized spirit when it's not that. Like God is everything that is ever created. So it's hard for our minds to conceptualize that, right? Because it's like, how can God be can be an object like this? Well, that's the thing. This is not God, right? I am not God. You are not God. These are all forms, right? These are all forms of God that are being observed in a way to mimic some part of God's creation, essentially. So we are all small fractals of God. But us being human, and the reason why we can even start to understand and think about these type of ideals, right? We can't, this can't think about this, right? An animal can't think about, a monkey can't conceptualize God the same way that we can. And studying astrology, studying the makeup of us, our energy centers within our heart and all of that, and how we can come to these conclusions within our mind, right? It's because of our soul. We have a spiritual soul, which means we are made in the image of God. Right, what does that image of God mean? Well, essentially that means that God is spirit and mind. It is soul and mind, basically soul being spirit, right? And mind. Mind is because the fact that you have a body, right, through forms of creation means that there needs to be an imagination. There needs to be thought going on. And spirit, because there needs to be some type of energy involved with those thoughts or those imaginations. So the only reason why you're here and you have a hand, you have a body and everything that you're going to experience is because God, through God's mind, created everything that you experience. Right? Created you. And you think yourself to be separate from that which created you. So much so, like, this physical reality is so seducing that people believe that there's not a God, when it's like, how are you actually even here? For you to even have a consciousness, and consciousness means you can understand this experience that you live in right now. Understand that in order for you to even have this, something needed to give it, like something or nothing gave it to you. It just didn't come out of nowhere. You didn't just become conscious. This power to be conscious had to come from no thing or God. I had to make sure I keep saying no thing instead of something when I refer to God, because God is not something. God is nothing. It is everything. It is the center of earth from which everything comes from. If you could take everything that has been created and redact it all back to the center point of everything, which you can call a Big Bang or essentially whatever, that is God. Right? God is the center of all creation. And it's just interesting. Like, God is not invisible. God is only invisible to you because you are refusing to see God in everything that you are experiencing. You just seeing it as objects. You seeing yourself as just a person. All right. When nothing is actually solid, everything is a vibration. Everything is a form of vibration that is being formulated into a way that it gets complicated in the sense of how our minds are able to perceive what is in front of us so differently from that which we actually come from or that which we actually are. So that's why our minds are limited in that sense. But if you can open your eyes to see that everything that you experience, it comes from God. Everything that you experience actually is God. The thing is, we try to idealize God so much, and it's like you really can't do that. you can't idealize God, and that's where we get mixed up at. Because God is not just one thing. God is everything that can ever be, that will ever be experienced. There's no such thing as you. Like, you is just this person that asked me, so I talked about psychosis to a person's comment and stuff like that. And he asked me, like, does my does me believing in God, ain't that just a form of psychosis? And I replied, and in the reply, I told him that my own identity of who I believe myself to be, right, my own body, is actually more of a psychosis than God is. Like, I am more of a I don't even know how to put that, but I hope you get that if you understand the meaning of psychosis. So you are more of a psychosis than what God is. Will you believe yourself to be? You are more of an illusion than what God is. And so God is not invisible. God is not something that you can or cannot believe in. God is everything. And your choice of whether you want to see that or not is completely up to you. But that does not take from the fact of what everything actually is. And yeah, that's just what it is. And to truly become enlightened is to come to that understanding that everything that you are experiencing and seeing is God. And you might ask, how can that be the case? How can God be everything? The question is, how can it not? How can God not be everything? And so that just touches on how our perspective is limited in the way we can understand things, because we feel like God needs to be something, right, that can be tangible, that can be idealized. And the truth is that God is not. And it's like, how are we here if that's the case? Well, because we are the ones that's being idealized. We are the ones that's being something that comes from the nothing that is God. So yeah, that's the simplest way to put it. I don't mean to harp on anybody that is atheist and agnostic. I understand to an extent. I understand, but if you are on the loop about God, or if you are just someone that does not believe in God, it is basically you just refusing to open your eyes and see what it is that you actually experience, and seeing what it is that's actually around you. This is not just your hand. This is not just your body. Your brain is not just your brain. What created it? Where did it come from? How is it here? How are you even here? What is your consciousness? Where did that come from? So those are the questions that you really need to ask and dive deeper into, that I think people refuse to do. And they just want to accept the idea that they don't know if God exists, or that they don't believe in God. And when we talk about God, we really got to start unlocalizing even that word, because God is technically nothing, but we just give it the name God. But truly nothing can ever come to know God. Somehow we can, though, by just tracing everything back, right? Because once again, for something to be something, it had to come from nothing. It had to come from everything, right? God is not a creation. God is the creator. We are a creation. Everything that you're experiencing is a creation, even down to the universe and the energies within the universe. You know, really energy and mind and thought is what God uses to create. And we harbor that same, as above, so below. We harbor those same, I don't even know what words to use, but you get it. We have the same thing, right? We have a spirit and we also have a mind, or we have a soul and a mind. The mind is within the soul. They are together. So that's how that goes. If you've been wondering, like, just for people that might be on the fence about it, or just to have a talk about it. Like, God is not invisible. God is in front of your eyes right now. The only thing here is actually God. And the more you can actually understand that, right, the more you enlightened you become, honestly. Like, everything gonna open up to you because you realize everything just is, because everything is just God running on different polarities in all of this creation. Hope you got something out of this video. Leave a like, comment, or subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.